Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Black Fox of the Jump City Assassin? Part 1. Huge shout out to Shinobi of Greed for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Gotham City was many things, none of which were good. Crime and poverty were high, while employment rates were incredibly low. Truth be told, Gotham was a dying city, infected by a disease that was slowly rotting the city and its people to nothing. However, there were a few noble spirits within Gotham who tried to mend the broken city. The Waynes were a prime example, though it has been over 2 decades since their murder and the city clearly hasn't changed. In fact, it's grown worse, but other individuals have become the new face of Gotham's guardians. For starters, there was the new vigilante/hero, Batman, who had taken into the streets of Gotham under the shroud of night in order to clean his city of all the filth that littered the back alleyways and warehouses of Gotham. Batman, for many, was a symbol of hope, a symbol that Gotham could still be saved. Though he was a man who fought for Gotham in the darkness. A city as broken as Gotham needed a hero to step out in the light of day and fight for his city. Lucky for the people of Gotham, they had just the right man. Naruto Namikaze, a wealthy businessman from Japan who moved his company to Gotham over 8 years ago. Many speculated as to why a rich and single man would move his multiple billion-dollar corporation to a foreign and dying city. Naruto would always respond to such questions with a small smile and a remake, as how a city is nothing besides concrete, so how could it die? He would remind the media that a city is nothing without its people, so his goal and his companion's goal was to create jobs and better lives for the people of Gotham. Quickly, Naruto became not only the public face and hero of Gotham, but he also attracted attention from other sources, both good and bad. This attention came from all the work his company did, which was produce cutting-edge and modern technology, which he sold to the people of Gotham for very reasonable prices. This was so that even the poorest family could purchase his products, which all oriented around improving the daily lives of Gotham citizens. The bad side of this was that Naruto found himself as the enemy of many crime bosses in Gotham. Though Naruto did not fear their threats, he was a single man with no family to care for. However, the key word is that Naruto was a single man with no family. See, this is where the good part of Naruto's deeds come into play. After his first 2 years in Gotham, Naruto met a rather interesting woman. A Dr. Harley Quinzel, who was a psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum. The two had met in a small coffee shop during their morning commutes to work. They talked and shortly after exchanged contact information. Soon the two found themselves on their first date, then second, followed by 6 more. Before finally the two young lovers agreed to walk down the aisle together and get married. The whole city stopped and watched as their savior and his newfound love joined in holy matrimony. Many came to the wedding, including one Bruce Wayne and Oliver Queen. Both of whom became friends and business partners with Naruto. This was only the beginning of Naruto's happiness, as a year later he became a father. A father to twins, surprisingly enough, a boy and a girl named Naruto and Naruto Namikaze. Both children look like a well blend of their father and mother, as they both had bright cerulean blue eyes and golden blonde hair. Though they leaned more towards their mother in the look department, since both twins had her nose, lips and creamy white skin. Quickly the Namikaze family became the staple family of Gotham. Cashing the media to follow their every move and happening in their life. Naruto tended to ignore all the fame and camera flashes, while Harley tended to enjoy the spotlight at times. Especially when she got to show off her adorable children, who she loved just as much as she loved Naruto. Which was why Harley retired from her job at Arkham and spent her time raising her children. It wasn't like her, and Naruto needed the money from her job anyway, and besides, Harley would much rather spend time with her babies than crazy psychopaths. Though Naruto kept working closely with Wayne Tech and Queen Consolidated. He hoped his work in joint with 2 other major corporations could not only help both Gotham and Star City, but they could expand their reach and aid to the entire world. Something that Batman and the newly risen Green Arrow could never do alone. However, that was 5 years ago and a lot has changed since then. Gotham has become a far more safe city and poverty is at an all-time low. Even the crime has taken a drastic hit. This was thanks to the help of Batman and all the aid Naruto and Bruce both gave to the police department. Speaking of aid, Gotham's favorite family were currently at the yearly GCPD ball, where rich families across Gotham would come together and honor the brave men and women who served their town. Their honor would of course be opening their wallets to help fund their local protectors. On behalf of the gallant men and women who protect the city, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight. One Naruto Namikaze began as he looked around the large room, which was filled with active and retired policemen and women, while also housing some of Gotham's elite. Naruto himself was dressed in an expensive black tuxedo. He wasn't one for fancy material items, but for an important night like this one, he made an exception. I came to this city 8 years ago and a lot has happened since then. I've made friends, formed a family and probably pissed a few people off here and there. Minato admitted with a small laugh, earning chuckles throughout the room. Minato smiled and raised a glass of champagne into the air. A lot has changed and this night is a testament to that truth. Gotham is finally healing and becoming a much better city. This of course is thanks to all the work our fine men and women of the GCPD put into protecting our city. Minato looked to his family who was seated at a table with his friend Bruce Wayne. To Gotham's finest, they are the true heroes the city needs. Arlene and Bruce both raised their glasses into the air, as did the other participants in the room. This was of course followed by a loud cheer directed towards Gotham's favorite blonde-haired billionaire. Smiling to himself, Minato leaned towards the microphone and motioned a hand behind his back. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hand the night over to Commissioner Jim Gordon." Walking up to Minato, Jim held a hand out to the man. "Thank you for all you have done for the city." The commissioner thanked with his deepest gratitude. Minato grinned and accepted the hand. "I don't do this for the thanks, only the cause. I should thank you and your police force, Commissioner." The two men nodded and turned towards a cameraman, who snapped a picture of the two men. "Enjoy the night, Minato." Jim spoke before letting go of the handshake. "Likewise, Commissioner." Minato replied before walking off the stage and towards his family. Chuckling to himself as he noticed his wife fail her arms in the air, showing her rather outgoing personality. She was the beauty of the ball and in his opinion the most beautiful woman in the city. She was dressed in a long skin-tight white dress that was open to reveal her large bust and giant diamond necklace. Her daughter, Mito, was beside her dressed in a similar but more tasteful white dress. Though she has a small thin gold chain necklace around her neck. Minato smiled and walked in between the two females he loved more than life itself. "How are you two lovely ladies doing?" the blonde asked as he gave them both pecks on the cheeks before taking his seat. "We are doing fine, Puddin', a little bored, but I enjoyed the speech." Harleen replied with a warm smile. Bruce cleared his throat and smiled. "Yes, it was quite a speech from a humble man. You should take some credit, none of this would be possible without you." "Now I can't take all the credit, you, the police force and even Oliver have been a great help to me over the years." Minato spoke with an honest smile. "You all play just a part in all this, as I do." Bruce smiled with a small nod and looked over to Naruto. The young blonde was dressed in a black suit like his father, though his face like his mother screamed mischief. The Bat Vigilante made a mental note to keep a close eye on the boy. Especially after the last time Naruto pulled a prank on Bruce, he knew the boy couldn't be trusted without a watchful eye. "Hey, speaking of Ollie, where is that playboy? I thought you sent him an invite, Puddin'," Harleen asked while looking to her husband. Bruce smirked and looked to his friend's wife. "He called me earlier, Oliver is tied up with a count at the moment," he explained smoothly. "He sends his best." Arlene perked up at the mention of a count. "Oh, Ollie must be shaking hands with some pretty important people then. Let's just hope this count doesn't have any young attractive daughters. After all, you know how much of a ladies' man he can be." The three adults shared a laugh at their friend's tendency with women. While Naruto and Mito didn't pay much attention to the adults. Naruto was busy messing with something under the table while his sister was mouthing the words no and stop. "Let's just hope Oliver isn't mixed up with this Count Vertigo I've been hearing about." Minato chuckled out, making Bruce tense up a little. His friend didn't know about his or Oliver's secret identities. "I highly doubt it, that's the Green Arrow's business. Oliver can hardly make himself breakfast, let alone take on a criminal like Vertigo." Bruce joked, trying to take the thought of Oliver fighting a villain out of their minds. Minato and Harleen both laughed and nodded their heads. "Yes, I believe you are right, Bruce, Oliver doesn't have what it takes to be a vigilante." The blonde billionaire snickered. Bruce nodded, but the sound of a child's laughter caught his attention. Looking down to Naruto, he noticed the small 5-year-old was laughing while trying to silence himself with his hand. "Something funny, Naruto?" the black-haired bachelor asked. Naruto shook his head while his facial expressions gave him away. "No way, Uncle Bruce, Mito just told me a funny joke." The small 5-year-old lied. Bruce chuckled and nodded his head. "Oh really? Cause Mito has been pretty silent, though in the past 10 minutes you've unscrewed the salt shaker, placed hot sauce in the drink I haven't touched and tried to tie my shoes together." "Tried?" Naruto mumbled in surprise. Bruce smirked and pointed under the table. "Take a look." Lifting the cloth up, Naruto looked under the table and found Bruce's shoes neatly tied. While his own were wrapped together in a giant mess. Naruto looked back up to Bruce with wide eyes. "When did you but tie your shoes, or when did I tighten the salt shaker?" Bruce leaned over the table with a devious smirk. "Or were you wondering when I switched our drinks around?" Naruto's jaw hit the table as he didn't believe his lame billionaire surrogate uncle could turn the tables on him so fast. Arlene reached over the table and pinched her son's cheek. "Oh my poor baby, got outsmarted by his own uncle." That's okay, mommy will just have to show you how to get away with things better. Minato, Bruce and even Mito sighed at the woman's promise. She loved her children, but at times her mischief behavior didn't make her the best role model. Darling, maybe promoting this kind of behavior isn't the best course of action. Minato tried to persuade his wife, even though he knew it wouldn't work. Now Puddin'. Arlene was cut short as the doors to the ballroom flung open, followed by multiple armed men storming the room. Nobody move. A thug shouted as dozens of gunshots went flying off into the air. Screams went off throughout the room. Minato bent over and placed protective hands over his wife and daughter. While Bruce placed a hand over Naruto in order to make sure the blonde was safe. Standing over at the podium, Jim Gordon laughed as he pointed a gun towards the thugs. Whoever gang you are in, you made a very stupid decision tonight. Just look around, this room is filled with armed cops. You are outmanned and outgunned, so place your weapons down and surrender yourselves. The commissioner demanded without dropping his gun. As if on cue, several cops held their guns out at the thugs. However, the thugs didn't move an inch. Instead they stood their ground against the overwhelmingly force. That's where you made a mistake, Commissioner. Our boss knew very well what was going on tonight. This isn't a robbery, but a lesson to the people of Gotham. The thugs all looked ready to fire their guns at any second. This is to show that Penguin Gang still owns the city. And we sure as hell are not afraid of the police. Kill them all, boys. Machine gun fire filled the room as one by one bodies started to hit the floor. Some tried to escape by running into cover or to an exit, but that only made them a clear target for the thugs' gunfire. Bruce, experiencing these kind of situations on a daily basis, was able to react fast. He grabbed Naruto and placed the child on the floor under the cover of the table. That man was definitely needed right now, but before Bruce could sneak off, he needed to make sure his friends were going to be okay. Looking back up to the table, Bruce was shocked to his very core. Mito and Minato both had been caught up in the crossfire. All the while, Harleen looked over her child and husband in horror. Harleen, get down. Bruce ordered as he forced Harleen under the table. Then as he looked at Naruto, who was clutching onto his mother's body, he stiffened up. Stay here, you will be safe. I'll take care of everything. Moving up, Bruce gave his friend and his goddaughter one look over. A tear trailing down his eye, he clutched his fists. Tonight Batman was going on a rampage. While Bruce ran off to grab his gear, Naruto held onto his mother for dear life. Soon he found a wet liquid pour around him and his mother, staining their clothes red. Mommy, I'm scared. Naruto whined in a low voice, which was almost drowned out by the sound of gunfire. Arlene placed her hand onto the ground and then inspected the blood that covered her hand. It was the blood of her child and husband. Smearing the blood onto her white dress, she began to laugh hysterically. Naruto looked to his mother with fear in his eyes. Half of her hair was covered in blood, while the other half remained golden blonde. This image of his mother, along with the events of this night, will continue to haunt Naruto for the rest of his life. 3 days later. It has been 3 days, 3 long heartbreaking days since Minato and Naruto Namikaze had died. They, along with 27 others, lost their lives that night. Though out of the gunmen who attacked the ball, only one remained. The man was taken to Arkham as he refused to give information out and he pleaded insanity. Since then Batman had been on a rampage looking for the Penguin. The streets of Gotham were littered with beaten and bloodied gang members who Batman had left in the streets. However, Batman wasn't alone in his crusade to find the Penguin and avenge his friend. Oliver Queenaka, the Green Arrow, had flown over to join Bruce in his manhunt. Though so far both men had drawn up blanks on the whereabouts of the Penguin. During this manhunt for the Penguin, another problem was slowly stirring. This problem was the one that involved the last 2 living members of the Namikaze family. Just recently, the funeral for Minato and Mito had taken place. Though many mourn the loss of Gotham's favorite blonde and his daughter, the service itself had just ended and not too many were at attendance. Bruce's butler Alfred orchestrated the entire funeral and the Wayne family paid for everything. This was best, as Harleen wasn't in the mental state to do anything at the moment. She was barely able to dress herself and attend the funeral. Though not many could blame her, she watched as the man she loved and her child bleed to death over top of her. Besides Harleen and Alfred, not too many other people were present for the funeral. Commissioner Gordon, along with a squad of police officers and his daughter, Barbara, were present. Along with Naruto, of course, and a strange man that no one knew, but considering the circumstances, no one questioned as to why he was there. Neither Bruce nor Oliver were present for the funeral. They wished to mourn their friend. Though they agreed finding Penguin and bringing him to justice was the only way to properly mourn their loss. Unaware to the 2 heroes was that a young blonde boy needed them and they were not there. Naruto was alone, his father was dead, his sister was dead, and his mother might as well be too. Currently, however, Naruto was standing over Minato and Mito's freshly covered graves. They were both buried behind the Namikaze estate. surrounded by the flower garden, which Naruto, Mito and Harleen had planted together. It pained Naruto to look at the names of his family on the tombstones, but he didn't want to leave the spot he was at. Alfred had just escorted his mother back to the estate, while Gordon, his daughter and the GCPD officers had given Naruto their best before leaving the blonde alone. "Why did you have to die?" Naruto mumbled in a low voice as a crack of thunder sounded off from above. The sound of thunder was followed by footsteps and a man stopped by Naruto's side. "When I first met Minato, he was just a boy like yourself," the unknown male explained. "He came to me alone and broken, so I forged him into the hardest steel and greatest weapon possible." Naruto remained silent, but he looked to the man out of the corner of his eye. The man looked young, no older than his father. This confused Naruto, because by the man's words, he should be much older than his father. Unless there was something that Naruto was missing, but for 5 years old and growing up in Gotham, Naruto was pretty clever. The man himself was dressed in a sharp black suit with little flair added onto it. His black hair was long, but didn't pass over his ears. The man did have a beard, but like his hair, it wasn't very long. Though something Naruto took notice of was the silver ring around his right hand, the ring itself looked like the head of a demon. "It's a shame really, taken down by a coward holding a gun. That's a death with no honor, Minato deserved better than that." The man then bent over and placed a hand on Minato's tombstone. Then he started to mumble some words in a language foreign to Naruto. "Who are you?" Naruto asked as he finally found his voice. The man ignored Naruto for a moment and continued his chant. Though after a short moment he stood to his feet and towered over the blonde. "I am Ra's al Ghul, leader of the League of Assassins. I was your father's teacher and mentor, long before he left the League and even longer before you were born." The now named Ra's explained with power behind his words. "What is the League of Assassins?" Naruto asked, never hearing his father ever mention the group before. "We are a group which your father was a member of. A group that kill for the betterment of humanity. A group which you will now join." Ra's finished as he folded his arms behind his back. Naruto balled his fists. "And why would I join you?" my mommy said killing is bad. Ra's nodded his head and started to walk. "You see boy, there isn't a choice here. You are the son of a fallen assassin and now you will join our ranks." Ra's walked in front of Naruto and smirked. "I can see a hatred in your eyes, that's the first step. See, I will take that fire, that overwhelming anger, and I will forge you into the hardest steel. Just like I did your father. And I don't want to be steel, I want my sister and father back." Naruto yelled in rage, tears starting to flow from his eyes. Ra's looked Naruto in his eyes and spoke with conviction. "They are dead and that is life, I could bring them back, but I won't. Instead I will forge you into a weapon. One that would be strong enough to best any foe. You will become the will of Ra's al Ghul." Naruto opened his mouth to protest, but Ra's spoke again. "Do you love your mother, boy?" Naruto nodded with little hesitation. "Good, now what if I told you I could make you strong? Strong enough so no person can take her away like those gunmen did to your father and sister." Naruto was silent, he didn't know what to say. "If that's not enough, what if I told you this penguin that everyone blames for the shooting? Isn't the man responsible for anything and is in fact innocent?" Ra's then held his hand into Naruto's shoulder and gripped tightly. "What if I could give you the tools to hunt and kill the man responsible for Minato and Mito's deaths?" Naruto took a hard swallow. "I will accept your offer then, I will become the will of Ra's al Ghul. I will avenge my family," the blonde declared, pleasing Ra's with his words. "But I have 2 questions." Ra's held his hands out. "Speak openly boy. First off, what's so special about my father that a leader of a secret group would come here after his death?" Ra's smiled. "That's simple, your father left the League, but the only way to accomplish that is to survive my sword. Your father did, making him the new Ra's al Ghul by name, but he refused the honor." Naruto nodded, he was 5 so he didn't understand everything, but he accepted the answer for now. "Okay, now answer why you are wanting me to join the League." Again Ra's lips curled into a large smile. "You contain the blood of one, if not the best assassins the League ever produced. Because of that I will train you to become something greater than just Naruto Namikaze." Naruto nodded. "I understand. But now go pack your belongings and say goodbye to your mother. I shall return within the hour to collect you." Ra's explained before walking off, leaving Naruto with nothing besides his own thoughts. "I promise." Naruto began as he looked to his father and sister's tombstones. "I will find the man responsible for this and I will kill him. I'm an assassin now after all." But Batman and Green Arrow. Batman and the Green Arrow stood side by side, both overlooking a large warehouse across the street. "Are you sure he will be here?" Oliver asked as he was starting to grow impatient. Batman held binoculars to his mask and nodded. "I interrogated 6 different members of Penguin's crew. They all told me the same location, trust me Oliver. We will get that son of a bitch tonight." Oliver nodded and flipped his hood over his head, just in time to see a black Suburban drive towards them. "Is that him?" the Green Arrow asked, already touching an arrow in his quiver. Smirking to himself, Batman placed his binoculars away. "Yeah, that's Penguin, right on time." Both superheroes watched as the Suburban drove into the warehouse. Only to be closed from behind by Penguin's thugs. "So we take the stealth approach, Bruce?" Oliver asked, looking to his left and finding no one there. Shaking his head, Oliver shot an arrow with a line attached to the warehouse. "I hate when he does that." The billionaire grumbled before rappelling down towards a window. "With Naruto." After he finished packing some clothes, Naruto walked into his mother's room to break the news of his departure. Though when he walked into the room, he didn't find her mopping around and on suicide watch. In fact, she was skipping around the room, humming to herself. She was still in her funeral dress, but her face was covered in white powder makeup and her hair was tied into 2 long ponytails. Honestly, for the first time ever, Naruto was afraid of his mom. "Mommy?" Naruto spoke up in a low voice. Noticing her son, Harley perked up and brought the boy into a hug. In the process, she rubbed some powder onto his cheek. "Oh, it's my little puddin' cup, how are you doing, sweetie?" Harley asked as she gave her son a twisted smile. "I've been better, Mom." "Call me Harley now." She cut in. "Mom, you should sit down." The small 5-year-old advised, refusing his mother's request while doing so. "I have something to tell you." Harley shrugged her shoulders and plopped down on her and Minato's bed. "What do you want to talk about?" Naruto walked beside his mother and took a seat. "An old friend of Dad approached me." "Ra's al Ghul." Harley spoke without skipping a beat, talking in a voice that reminded Naruto of his mother before the incident. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "You know that man, Mommy?" Harley smiled and ruffled her son's hair. "There isn't a thing I didn't know about you, father. So tell me, what does that man want?" Naruto looked down and fiddled with his hands. "He is taking me away to train me to be strong. He also told me he will help find the man responsible for Dad and Mito's death. That way I can kill the man." Harley nodded and stretched her body, doing so allowing Naruto to see the necklace around his mother's neck. It was Mito's first gold necklace and it had Harley's diamond wedding ring along with his father's tied onto it. "That's acceptable, from what your father told me. This Ra's guy is a real douche, but he will honor his promise to train you." Harley then zoned out for a moment. "Besides, when you leave, Mommy is going to do things. Bad things, things that she don't want you to see." "Mom?" Naruto mumbled in a low voice, shocked by his mother's words. Harley giggled and flipped back to her ditzy persona. "I love you, my little puddin' cup," the woman declared happily before kissing her son's cheek. "Just make sure you write me some letters." "I love you too, Mom, and I promise I will." "But Batman and Green Arrow." "End of the line, Oswald." Batman shouted as he grabbed the portly man and slammed him into a wall. Penguin grunted in pain and looked behind Batman. He wasn't pleased to find the Green Arrow standing over his beaten gang. "What the bloody hell, Bats, normally you wait till I do something illegal before storming into my hideouts." The Penguin shouted in anger, right before a fist buried itself in his face. "And now you brought your boyfriend here with you. Don't play games with me, Oswald. Because of you 27 people are dead. One of those people was a 5-year-old girl." Batman roared before slamming a fist into Penguin's stomach. Penguin wheezed in pain, then smirking to the Green Arrow, he began to speak. "So if he's bad cop, what are you? Good cop?" Bruce jerked Penguin by the edges of his black coat and threw him to Oliver, who punched the man in the face, sending him into the concrete. "No, I'm worse cop." The Green Arrow growled before drawing his bow with an arrow. "Now tell us, why did you call the hit on the GCPD ball?" "I don't know what you're even talking about. I've been in Bloodhaven for the past week. Trying to set up an arms deal with a local gang." The Penguin shouted out. "If you don't believe me, just check the bloody crates. They are filled with guns." "You're lying." The Green Arrow shouted, shooting an arrow beside the Penguin's head. "Now start talking, or the next one won't miss." Folded Batman yelled from over to the side, he was currently scanning through all the crates. "There are machine guns all over the place. His story checks out." Oliver snarled. "So, he's committed another crime. Big deal, that doesn't excuse him from calling the attack on the GCPD ball." Batman nodded and walked over to his friend. "That's true, but an attack like that doesn't fit Oswald's normal MO. It was a terrorist attack with no monetary gain. I believe he was set up, the question is by who." Batman then kicked Penguin onto his back and placed a boot on his chest. "Who would set you up?" The Penguin sighed. "How the bloody hell should I know? You're the world's greatest detective, you figure it out." Batman growled and kicked the side of Penguin's head, knocking him unconscious. Oliver sighed and crossed his arms. "What's our play from here? If Penguin didn't call the hit and our only crook left alive won't talk, how can we find out who is responsible?" That man shook his head and started to call Alfred. I don't know, I just don't know. Though let's make sure Penguin and his crew get a one-way ticket to Arkham. 11 years later, Naruto age 16. Walking down a stone corridor, which was lit by the flickering light of torches. One Ra's al Ghul moved towards the sound of metal clashing against metal. Soon, Raz found himself in an open chamber where 6 individuals were doing battle. Well, to be more accurate, 5 members of the League were teaming up against a young teen in the center. This teen was Naruto Namikaze. All 6 were dressed in a similar fashion, which was all black clothes. That had leather arm, leg, shoulder and chest guards over top, which were also black. Each fighter also had one long katana, a bow and quiver attached to their back. As Naruto fought off his attackers, one slipped into his defenses and almost stabbed him. Though with remarkable speed, Naruto evaded the strike and grabbed his attacker's arm and in one swift motion, snapped the man's arm. Shrieking in pain, the man dropped his sword, which Naruto snatched mid-fall before redirecting the sword into the man's stomach. Then without skipping a beat, Naruto continued to fight the 4 still breathing assassins. One unnamed assassin backed away from the group and pulled out a bow. Then while taking aim, he fired an arrow at Naruto's head. The blonde didn't even blink as he caught the arrow from the air. Then with little remorse, he stabbed the arrow into the chest of another assassin, killing the man by stabbing his heart. Raz watched with a pleased face as he watched Naruto fight his opponents. The blonde was a true warrior, just like his father. Naruto, being left against only 3 foes, decided to take the offensive. He moved swiftly and caught one assassin by surprise, resulting in Naruto slicing his katana across the man's stomach. As the man fell to his death, Naruto sheathed his sword and grabbed his bow. Then turning on his heel, he grabbed 2 arrows and fired them. The first deflected an enemy arrow, while the second one lodged itself at another assassin's neck. And then there was one. Naruto mumbled before sweeping his leg, kicking the last man onto his back. Then by drawing an arrow back and taking a kill shot, he finished the man off. That one is me. Raz started to clap and walk over to Naruto. I'm very impressed by your little performance. You've come a long way in 11 years, Thelab. Naruto removed his hood and mask, revealing his long blonde hair, pale skin and cold icy blue eyes. Naruto then kneeled on his right leg and bowed his head. Thank you, master. Raz smirked and made a motion with his hands for Naruto to stand. Rise, Thelab, we have much to discuss. So follow me. Naruto did as instructed and took his master's side. For a moment they walked in silence, but eventually Naruto broke the silence. What did you wish to speak about? Have I failed the League in some way? Naruto asked in a dry tone. Raz laughed and rested a hand on Naruto's shoulder. No, Thelab, you are my most trusted and beloved student. You've done everything but fail the League. I actually have a mission for you. I see, who is the target? Naruto asked, already knowing the gist of what his mission would involve. He would have to take someone's life for the League. Raz placed his arms behind his back and looked up. 11 years ago, Naruto Namikaze went missing from Gotham. He was presumed dead and he has died. Now that is left is Thelab, the fox and will of Ra's al Ghul. The demon's head smirked and looked to the young teen. Today I release you into the world, but I have conditions you must complete. Lifting his eyebrow, Naruto was confused. Conditions? Like what, master? Remember when I first took you in? I told you I would help you avenge your sister and father. Raz grinned at the fire that burned in his pupil's eyes. How could I forget? That's what I like to hear. The master chuckled darkly. See, as Ra's al Ghul, there is little I don't know. Like for instance, there is still a man alive who was a shooter involved with your sister and father's death. He has spent the last 11 years in Arkham and since then hasn't spilled an inch of information about his attack. Naruto balled his fists, the info he was given didn't set well with him. I see. The blonde growled in anger. Calm yourself, Thelab, your mission is simple. Head to Gotham, infiltrate Arkham and interrogate and kill the man who killed your family. Then follow any leads till you find who was truly responsible for your father and sister's murder. Naruto bowed. I will accomplish this mission without fault. The blonde promised. I know you will, Thelab, that's why I'm setting you free from the League, under a few rules of course. Which are, you will not cross the League and if I call upon you, you will follow my orders without question. Of course, Raz, I am your weapon. Naruto declared without any hesitation. I know, now go prepare to depart. You're heading home, Thelab. I just hope Gotham is ready for you. And I also hope young Damien won't miss you too much. Arkham Asylum, 1 day later. It was the dead of night, by now the graveyard shift had moved in. So the amount of guards in Arkham was pretty low, perfect for a stealthy assassin. Naruto moved without a sound, while simultaneously sticking to the shadows. As he snuck around the asylum, he would take out any of the few guards he would come across. Naruto did not kill these guards, but he did make sure they would not be an issue. After all, he had two agendas for being in Arkham. After 20 minutes of sneaking, Naruto came to a cell with one prisoner inside. One James King, a criminal who made his living off robbing and killing the people of Gotham. He had been a gang member for every major crime boss in Gotham, save one. Though there was something special about James, and that wasn't hard to figure out. He was the sole surviving gunman of the GCPD ball massacre. As Naruto glared at the man through the steel bars, he grabbed his bow and an arrow. James was currently sleeping, but Naruto was about to change that. Though first he clicked a microphone by his mouth, this was a device to conceal his voice by making it sound deeper. Really, Naruto only did this for the intimidation factor. James King. Naruto growled before firing an arrow into the man's leg. James' eyes sprung open and he wailed in agony. "Oh, what the shit?" The criminal seethed before noticing the figure in black holding a bow. "What the hell are you? One of those stupid vigilantes?" Naruto lifted a keyring he stole off a guard, then as he opened James' cell. Naruto took a few steps inside. "Unfortunately for you, I'm not." James held the entry point of the arrow, trying to stop the bleeding. "Guards. Guards, come here now." Naruto smirked and grabbed another arrow. "The guards won't be coming, I've already taken care of them." Finishing his explanation, Naruto drew another arrow back and pointed it at James. "Now me and you are going to talk." "Fuck. Wah." James shrieked as another arrow flew into his shoulder blade. "We can do this all night, I have plenty of arrows." Naruto grabbed another arrow and held it at James. 11 years ago you attacked the GCPD ball, who were you working for?" "I'll tell you the same thing I told Batman and that other prick with arrows 11 years ago." "Piss off." James clenched his fists and looked into the ceiling. This time he didn't scream or mutter an insult as the second arrow poked into his arm. "I don't have much patience, Mr. King." Naruto walked over to James and grabbed the arrow in his shoulder. "Who were you working for?" "I don't remember." The man mumbled back weakly. Naruto growled and snapped the arrow in half, making the wound bigger with the movement. "Start remembering," Naruto ordered as he took the snapped arrow piece and stabbed James' leg. "Why does it matter? You'll kill me anyway." James seethed, spitting some blood out at Naruto. Shaking in rage, Naruto backhanded James. "I am Thelab, an assassin from the League of Assassins. I could kill you without remorse, it would be quick and painless." Naruto then jerked the man by his prison uniform and smirked. "Or I could place you in the most horrific torture of your life. I could take you to my master and he will have you beaten, stabbed and burned for decades." "You lie." James growled in disbelief, not believing the blonde's words could be true. This angered Naruto, causing him to throw James against a wall. Naruto held an arrow over James' manhood. "I'm growing tired of your shit, Mr. King." Beaten and bloody, James sighed in defeat. "I yield, I'll tell you what I know. Just make my death quick." Naruto nodded and stood up. "Speak then." "I owed somebody money, a old buddy of mine from Jump City. Turns out, 11 years ago he owed someone else money, someone really scary. I didn't get a name or anything, just a deal. He would wipe my debt completely, but I had to take a job for him. I didn't even know what I was getting into till we stormed the event with guns. There was a little girl there, man, and I killed her." "What is your friend's name?" Naruto asked, his right hand shaking. "Mizuki, his name is Mizuki Sato. He runs some of the dock operations that go on in Jump City. Last I heard he still does. You find Mizuki, then you can find the guy that called the job in." James finished explaining right as an arrow buried into his chest. Naruto pulled his mask down and removed his hood. Tears slowly trailing down his cheeks. "I would say, tell my sister I love her, but you won't see her where you are going." Naruto hoisted his bow high in the air and then placed it over his head. Then without even blinking, Naruto left James' bleeding and lifeless corpse inside his open cell. "Now only one more thing to do," Naruto mumbled as he pulled his mask up and flipped his hood back over his head. Then moving quickly, Naruto faded into the shadows and headed towards his last destination. Moving quickly, Naruto wasted no time going to his destination. Which was the wing of Arkham where the high-priority inmates were placed away. With that being the case, there was a lot more guards on patrol. Naruto, not having that much time to move around Arkham, contemplated killing the guards. That way he could make his escape plan go much more smoother. However, he decided against that choice. So he stayed in the shadows and disabled every guard that got in his path. Eventually, Naruto came across a large iron door. Above the door the word "Caution" and "Danger" were flashing red. Laughing at the predicament and why he was here, Naruto held the hand of an unconscious guard to a hand scanner. The scanner flashed green and the door started to slide open. "Man, this is way too easy," the blonde mumbled as he strolled inside the room. Naruto walked past multiple cells without batting an eye towards the criminals inside. He saw multiple big-time names, like the Killer Croc and Bane. Both of whom were heavily chained onto a wall. He also noticed Penguin, Poison Ivy, Two-Face, the Riddler and so many more. Eventually he made it to the end of the room. Though as he passed one more cell a voice called out to him. "Here for little old me." The voice of the Joker spoke smoothly, right before busting out in a fit of laughter. Naruto snorted. "As if." The blonde replied before walking by. As Naruto walked, he couldn't help but smile. His mother was dressed in the standard Arkham uniform, casually applying nail polish onto her fingers. "Harley Quinn." Naruto began in his disguised voice, drawing an arrow and pointing it at his mother. "I've come for you." Some of the inmates poked their heads out of their cells. All waiting to see if the crime queen of Gotham was about to get put down. "Oh, looks like it's bye-bye for little Harley." The Joker laughed happily. Harley smiled and placed her nail polish away, then with a skip in her step, she walked to her cell door. "You wish, clown freak, my little buttercup is here to bust me out," she declared victoriously. After all, what mom wouldn't recognize her own son? Naruto laughed and put his bow away. "Thought I could get you that time," the blonde admitted before he casually walked over and unlocked Harley's cell. Harley walked over and hugged her son. "Even a trained assassin can't pull one over a loving mother," she explained before gripping tightly on his uniform. "The last letter you sent me, you said you would ... He's dead, mom, I killed him. Just like I said I would." Naruto cut in and felt his mother hug him tight. "That's my boy." Naruto smiled. "Dad was right, you never were a good influence." Harley couldn't help but laugh. "What can I say? I loved your father and Mito, but me and you have always been different from them. We just had to lose them to find that out." Naruto tightened his hold on his mother. "I'm leaving for Jump City tonight. I got a tip from King before I killed him. This lead should take me to the person responsible for Dad and Mito's death. After 11 years, we will finally have our justice." Harley backed away from her son and nodded. "Yeah, we will, but at least stay in Gotham for the night. I want to spend a little more time with my buttercup." Naruto allowed his mom to wrap her arms around his own. "Alright, I can agree to that," the blonde replied as the mother-son duo strolled off, unaware of the camera recording the masked Naruto and Harley making their escape. It had been one whole day since Naruto killed James King. In that time, he and his mother had spent that time together as a family. They had dinner, laughed and talked about everything that was going on in their lives. Doing this allowed Naruto to see the true extent Minato and Mito's death had on Harley. She was no longer the sweet and playful woman she once was. Now Harley had a heart of stone and was Gotham's biggest crime boss. Though Naruto still loved his mother, and besides, who was he to judge? After all, he was a trained assassin who probably killed more people than Harley's whole criminal operation. Currently, Naruto and Harley were inside a large black limousine, which was headed for Jump City. Naruto tried to convince Harley that he would be fine on his own, but his mother insisted. She loved her son and she would do anything to help him. Naruto was sitting across from his mother on an expensive leather seat. He was dressed in his street clothes, which was a skin-tight black muscle shirt and pair of matching cargo pants. Over top of his black shirt, Naruto also wore a black and orange zip-up hoodie. Naruto finished his ensemble off with black and orange sneakers. By his feet, Naruto had two black bags. One bag had all his spare clothes and necessities, while the second carried his League of Assassins uniform and gear. Harley was dressed in tight blue jeans, a white crop top and a black leather jacket, while having Mito's necklace tied around her neck, which still had her and Minto's wedding rings attached to it. "You know, I could have made it to Jump City on my own. I'm the best assassin the League has had since Father and Roz. I was perfectly capable of taking a train to Jump City," Naruto grumbled while crossing his arms. Harley giggled and grabbed a drink from the minibar beside her. "Am I such a bad mother for wanting a little extra time with my baby boy?" she asked with fake sadness. "After all, I haven't seen you in 11 years. Naruto looked to the window and sighed. "I guess not." Harley smiled and took a drink from her glass before placing it down. "That's what I like to hear, oh and Puddin'." Naruto looked back to his mother. "Check the right pocket on the left side bag." Naruto titled his eyebrow and bent down to the bag. Unzipping the pocket like instructed, he was hit with a wave of confusion. "What gives, mom, the pocket is empty." Harley smacked her head and laughed. "Aw, I'm such a ditz. I meant my left, not yours," she explained, causing Naruto to form a sweat drop. Shaking his head, Naruto moved to the bag on his right. Then doing as instructed once more, Naruto pulled out a wallet, checkbook, cell phone and a deed to a building. "What's all this?" Naruto asked, as none of these items were his. "The wallet has your new credit card and fake ID, along with $2,000 in cash. The checkbook is for you to write any checks, if the situation calls for it. Well, that deed is for the apartment I bought for you in Jump City, you need a place to stay after all," Harley explained with a large grin. Naruto nodded and started to place the items back. "And what is the cell phone for?" Calling your mother of course, and don't worry I placed my number under 6 different contacts and 4 speed dials. Harley explained happily. That's wonderful, but how are you able to do this? Fake IDs, money and a freaking limousine. I thought you became Gotham's new crime boss, but all this is surprising. Naruto voiced his opinion rather loudly. Harley giggled. You forgot Puddin, me and you are still billionaires. See, I'm not like most of those brain-dead morons in Gotham. Before I started my organization, I created a few fake identities and transferred everything I and your father owed to them. Hiding your assets. Naruto mumbled, surprised by his mother's explanation. Harley nodded, glad her son caught on. Yup, the cops can't take a company, house and money that you don't technically own. Though I must admit, running a criminal operation and a multi-billion-dollar company can be quite exhausting. She then leaned over to her son and pointed to her face. I mean, just look Puddin, I'm already getting wrinkles. I'm only 21 for crying out loud. Naruto had a sweat drop on the side of his head. Sure mom, you're as young as you feel. The blonde mumbled with false sympathy. Though his attention was brought back to his bag. Remembering what his mother told him, Naruto fished out his new wallet and fake ID. I forgot to check, what's my new name now? I have to admit, I got used to being called Theolab. Harley smiled ear to ear and placed her hands over her lap. Naruto, who looked at the ID, had a small twitch in his eye. Really mom? The blonde sighed. Harley nodded her head and started to laugh. Yup. Naruto shook his head and looked down at the fake ID. You know, the whole point of a fake ID is simple. It's used to give you a new identity so you can hide your real one. I know the Puddin Cup. That's why I had one made for you. It would be bad if people found out if my son was alive and not missing anymore. Harley explained. Naruto pinched a bridge of his nose and started to massage his face. Sex, male. Height, 6 feet 1 in. Age, 18. Oh, at least you changed that. And the best part of it all. Name, Naruto Quinn. What? I changed your last name too. Harley whined. I also had birth certificates, high school diplomas among other things forged. You kept my first name. And you changed my last name to your criminal persona. Naruto shouted in disbelief. Harley got a fake tear in her eye. I just wanted you to go by the name I gave you. The blonde-haired mother admitted as she whipped her fake tears and smiled wide. Besides, what's the fun in playing everything safe? Well, for one, it goes against everything the League and Roz taught me. You know, staying in the shadows and out of sight is what assassins do. Harley waved her son off. Don't stress the small stuff, you're smart enough to handle yourself. Besides, we should talk about an alibi for you. You know, like a day job to help conceal your other activities. Naruto nodded and decided to temporarily forget about his new identity. Alright, after everything you've done so far. I would assume you have that department covered also. Smart like his mommy. Harley praised as she handed Naruto 2 keys. The first key unlocks your new store. While the second unlocks the apartment above said store. Work and home close together makes life even better for me. Naruto spoke with a small grin while taking the keys from Harley. What's the store? It's a bookstore. Harley chipped happily, giving her son an eye smile. The bookstore? Naruto repeated with little enthusiasm. Out of everything possible, you picked a bookstore. Harley's face shifted into a small pout. Now listen here, Buster. Who is the biggest crime boss in Gotham? Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes. Your mom. And who has thought of every possible angle that you and Roz didn't plan for? You did. Who knows how to conceal illegal activities? You do. And who is the fairest of them all? Do I really have to answer that? Naruto grumbled. Harley crossed her arms and lifted her eyebrow, giving her son a cold icy glare. One that only the most intimidating of mothers could give. Naruto looked down and held his hands up in defeat. You are the fairest of them all. Harley smiled and placed a hand over her heart. Aw, my Puddin is such a charmer. You'll make a lucky girl happy one day. Yeah, I'm sure all the girls love a trained assassin. Who has an overprotective criminal mother? Naruto deadpanned. Harley smiled and held a finger up. You also own a bookstore. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, that just screams ladies man. Besides, you never explained why you decided to give me a bookstore to run. That's easy, a bookstore takes very little work to maintain. All you do is set books out and wait for people to buy them. Secondly, most people who read books either order them online or digitally. So really, you have a failing business that no one will ever visit. Harley explained with a serious tone. Which is perfect since you have all the time to focus on your other activities. And you won't need any of the money from the store. You know, 'cause you're from a filthy rich family. Naruto was surprised, never in a million years would he expect his mother to have everything so well planned out. Mom, you are a genius. The blonde praised with wide eyes. Harley lifted her eyebrow and smirked. Did you expect anything different? I didn't become the biggest crime boss in Gotham because I'm pretty. I had 3 PhDs before I meet your father and retired from Arkham." Naruto smirked. "Retired only to become a resident." Harley matched his smirk spot on, as the mother and son were almost copies of one another. "Cheeky little brat, just like his mommy." Harley bent over and hugged her son. "I love you so much." "I love you too, Mom." Naruto replied, right as he felt the limousine come to a halt. "Looks like we are here." Harley smiled and jumped out of the vehicle. "Time for the all-exclusive tour," the older blonde shouted as she marched towards Naruto's new home. Naruto watched his mother and slumped over. "Yay." The younger of the two mumbled as he grabbed his bags and left the limousine. Coming outside, Naruto couldn't help but smile wide. "I like the name." Naruto spoke to his mother while looking at the name of the bookstore. Harley placed her hands over her hips and smiled, proud of her work. "Mito's bookshelf does have a ring to it." "Yeah, it does," Naruto replied, taking a little more pride in his new store now. "Well, don't just stand there, go open the door," Harley instructed with a small laugh. Naruto pulled out the key to the shop and with little hesitation he unlocked the door. Instantly, he was smacked with the aroma of books. Both new and old. Though as he entered his new store, Naruto had to admit he was impressed. The store itself was quite large, with enough room for several bookcases and even a small second floor, which was a balcony/reading area for customers. Naruto also noticed a large service desk that had a large closed door beside it. "Follow me." Harley giggled as she grabbed her son and dragged him to the closed door. Naruto followed his mother, who practically kicked the door open, allowing Naruto to see a small office, which he presumed was his. He also noticed a large stairway leading upstairs, which he figured led to his new apartment. "This is your office, Puddin, and over there is the staircase that leads to your apartment. I didn't know how much space you needed, so I bought this building to be safe. It consists of 10 bedrooms. Harley informed with a large grin. "Oh, and time for my favorite part." Naruto followed his mother with a slack jaw. "10 bedrooms." The blonde mumbled. Harley stopped at a large bookcase and held her hands out and waved them around the bookcase, doing so in a way that made the bookcase look more important than it was. "And now for the best part and your surprise." Harley began as she grabbed a book and pulled it forward, causing a click noise and the bookcase to slide to the left, revealing to Naruto and Harley a large elevator. "What the hell?" Naruto gasped in surprise. "Come on. No time to waste, Puddin' Cup," Harley declared before dragging her son into the elevator and pushing a button. The elevator closed shut and started to move down. Then after a few seconds, a ding went off and the doors slide open, revealing a large command center under the store. Harley skipped happily inside while Naruto stayed at the elevator. He was too shocked to even move. State-of-the-art technology, courtesy of Namikaze Enterprise. Harley began as she walked past the dozens of computers in the room. A full training area with weights and practice dummies, a storage area to keep your sword, bow, arrows and uniform, and to top it all off, Harley plopped down on a large chair. The most cozy-ass chairs money can buy. Naruto couldn't believe his eyes, he couldn't believe any of this was real. "Oh, and I got you a motorcycle," Harley added while sounding more pleased with the chair than the bike. "Mom, this is all too much." Naruto gasped in shock, unable to believe his mother did so much for him. "You must have spent a small fortune." "I did, good thing I have a large fortune," the crime boss joked before standing up and walking to her son. "Naruto, I missed 11 of my child's birthdays. I missed 11 of my child's Christmases. I missed your and Mito's whole childhood. Here is me making up for that." Naruto let a small tear roll down his face as he brought his mother into a large hug. "You don't have to make up anything, I love you, Mom," Naruto pointed out. Harley returned the hug and started to cry, but she still had a large smile. "I know that, but I wanted to give you and Mito the world. Though after everything that has happened, I believe this is a small start." "It's perfect, at least you didn't go overboard and buy me a giant cake," Naruto laughed, causing Harley to join in. "Yeah, that would be silly, that's why I bought 11 cakes," Harley explained with a loud laugh. "They are all in your apartment." Naruto smiled and shook his head. "Well, let's go get some cake then, I'm starving after all." The next day. Not too long after Naruto got settled in his new apartment, Harley had left her son. After all, she had a criminal organization in Gotham that needed her attention. So now, started Naruto's first official day in his crusade for justice. He started his morning by waking up at 5 a.m. for an early day workout. This was a ritual he became accustomed to during his time in the League of Assassins. After his morning workout, Naruto went up to his apartment and made himself breakfast. Making himself a small bowl of cereal, Naruto strolled into his living room. He was shirtless with nothing besides a pair of sweatpants and a towel around his neck. He then took a seat on the couch his mother had bought him, as she was kind enough to fully furnish his new apartment. Placing his cereal down onto a table in front of him, Naruto grabbed a remote and flicked his TV on. Greetings, this is Jane Summers with Channel 6 News. You are currently joining us live as we cover the Teen Titans battle with the criminals Mammoth, Gizmo and Jinx. Naruto listened to the newscast and paid interest to the live video feed. The Teen Titans, these are the heroes of Jump City I've heard of. Naruto beepized a video with a calculated eye. Watching with little surprise as a young green-skinned teen morph into a T-Rex. Said T-Rex rushed at the criminal Mammoth and tackled the large male into a building. Beast Boy can shift into any known animal. Though looks like he uses his abilities to attack head-on. A well-placed arrow or one laced with a tranquilizer agent would be enough to take him out. Naruto pointed out, grabbing his spoon and starting to eat his breakfast. Back on the camera feed, Mammoth grabbed Beast Boy and tossed the teen away, displaying his remarkable strength. Strong. Naruto noted, though he spoke a little too soon as a blue beam of energy slammed into Mammoth and knocked him back. But strength is nothing when you're slow. Naruto's attention was then placed on the individual who attacked Mammoth. Said teen unleashed a loud booyah, causing Naruto to roll his eyes. So that cyborg, half human half machine. Naruto continued to enjoy his cereal while paying little attention to the news feed. Enhanced strength, computer implants and energy cannons. The more crutches one has, the more it hurts when they are taken away. After all, a sword and arrow never lose battery life. Naruto looked up to the TV with a smirk, just in time to see Gizmo latch onto Cyborg's back. My point exactly. The blonde mumbled, watching as Gizmo began to mess with Cyborg's wiring. Forcing the teen to fall over defeated and unable to move. Though before Gizmo could move another inch, several projectiles flew at the teen and impacted his backpack. Causing his gear to explode and send him rolling off Cyborg. Watching this, Naruto was interested as he watched the next Titan. Robin, the boy wonder. Team leader, who was personally trained by Uncle Bruce. Naruto mumbled, already knowing who Batman was thanks to Roz and his daughter Talia al Ghul. He seems skilled, but he telegraphs all his moves. Easy to predict and even easier to beat. Naruto then watched as the villain known as Jinx attacked Robin. She used some kind of energy wave, which destroyed a building by the boy wonder. Causing said building to topple over top of him. Though before Robin could be crushed, Starfire flew in and saved him. The alien Princess Starfire, she is a little different than the others. Super strong, can fly and can shoot green blasts of energy. However, looks like helping her team is her weakness, one which anyone could exploit. Naruto watched as the Titans grouped up around Cyborg. While they were doing this, the three evil teens were regrouping as well. Though this proved to be a poor choice, as a large metal beam coated in black energy wrapped around all three villains. Now this is interesting. Naruto mumbled as he watched a female float above the three restrained teens. She was wearing a blue cloak with a hood with matching blue ruffled ankle boots. Under her cloak she wore a leotard-like long-sleeved shirt that was bluish-black with cuffs at her wrists, which were the same blue color as her cloak. As she floated down onto the ground, the camera was able to get a solid look at her face. She had very pale, almost gray skin. Which made her appear somewhat demonic. Her eyes along with her short hair were a beautiful violet. Finally she has a red and black bindi on her forehead. Looking at the teenager, Naruto could only think one thing. Beautiful. Naruto gasped, completely forgetting that he was beepizing each of the Titans. In fact, the young assassin found himself looking to the teen in a trance. So that's the 15th Titan, Raven. And there you have it. The Teen Titan successful saved the day again. This is Jane Summers signing off. Naruto grabbed his remote and clicked his television off. Then as he laced his hands together, the blonde began to think. 5 superhero teenagers, they could pose a future threat. I could take them all out, but that wouldn't be needed. Naruto grabbed his empty cereal bowl and started to walk to his sink. My goals do not involve them, but if they choose to become a nuisance. Well, I already know how to defeat them. All except one. Naruto mumbled, placing his bowl away and thinking about Raven. Perhaps I should learn to control my power. Later that night. Night had fallen on Jump City, causing most of the town's degenerates to come out of hiding. Drug dealers, muggers and other all started to swarm the streets. The Teen Titans never bothered with these type of crooks, they left them to the police. The Titans focused more on the bad guys which cops couldn't handle. This was so the group of teens wouldn't get overwhelmed by fighting crime. Though now there was another teen patrolling the streets, but he wasn't fighting crime. No, he was on a manhunt. Naruto, who was garbed in full League of Assassins gear, jumped from building to building, occasionally using his bow to shoot an arrow with an attached line to cross large distances. His goal was simple: find, interrogate and kill Mizuki Sato. However, there was a problem with finding Mizuki. This problem was that Naruto was unfamiliar with Jump City, he had no clue where anything was, and he has no contacts to assist him. Regardless of his situation, Naruto was able to find the one of the many docks where Mizuki could possibly be operating from. Naruto didn't know if he was in the right place, hell he didn't even know what this Mizuki character looked like. What he did know was he could see multiple shady figures moving crates around at the docks. So he was gonna stop by and say hello. Jumping off a rooftop, Naruto ran in the cover of shadows. He quickly moved on top of a large stack of metal storage crates. Hunching low to the very most top crate, Naruto began to count the number of men he spotted. 7 guys, all moving large wooden crates of something. The blonde mumbled before sneaking down to one of the wooden crates and cracking it open. Drugs, well at least I know I'm on the right track. Hey, what the hell are you doing? A masculine voice shouted out. Naruto slammed the crate shut and activated the device he used to deepen his voice. Which one of you is Mizuki Sato? Never heard of him. The man replied, holding up a shotgun to Naruto. But you're a dead man. Naruto barrel rolled into cover just in time to avoid a buckshot to the chest. So that's how we play. Naruto replied from behind a metal crate while grabbing his bow and drawing back an arrow. Naruto peeked around the corner with great speed and before the man could even blink. An arrow blazed straight into his throat, killing him with little effort. Though Naruto was forced to duck and run as the other 6 criminals started to fire shots at him. One clipped Naruto's shoulder during his run, causing him to growl in pain. Coward's weapon. Naruto grumbled before leaping over top of some concrete and crouching for cover. Jason, Frank, go flank the bastards left and right. A male ordered in a stern voice. Not having any of that. Naruto mumbled as he tossed several smoke bombs over the concrete blocks, allowing himself to be concealed from his current attackers. The 6 men stopped moving, but they continued to fire their guns into the smoke. However, 2 men were dropped dead as 2 arrows flew out of the smoke and into their eyes. Wanna know the best part about a bow and arrow? They don't give off a loud noise like a gun, makes it impossible to detect through a fog of smoke. Naruto snickered so the thugs could hear him. But your buddies found that out the hard way. Damn it, you stupid heroes thinking you can come and do whatever you want. A goon shouted before unloading his gun into the smoke. An arrow went whizzing through the air and impacted the man's back, poking through his heart and out his chest. See, I'm no hero, a hero wouldn't kill without any remorse. The voice of Naruto came from behind them, making the 3 criminals left alive turn on their heels. I'm an assassin. Where are you? One of the 3 shouted in fear. What I want is simple. Naruto spoke up, his voice now coming from their left. I just want information on one Mizuki Sato. We don't know any Mizuki. The man was silenced as an arrow went into his throat, causing him to fall over. TSK, TSK, TSK. That was not the answer I was looking for. Naruto began, right as another arrow flew into the chest of another criminal, leaving only one left alive. The man looked down to his slaughtered gang and started to freak out. He dropped his gun and took off in a dead sprint towards the city. Hoping, no praying someone would be able to save him. Though before he could even move 2 feet, a black blur blinded his vision. Followed by the pain of a sharp object in his chest. Naruto looked into the eyes of the dying man with his own cold and lifeless ones. Then without any remorse, Naruto jerked his sword out of the man's chest, allowing him to fall over dead. Well, first night out on the town. Naruto began as he touched the bullet wound on his shoulder, which was bleeding through his uniform. And things did not go the way I wanted them to. Naruto then strolled off. Planning to head home, patch himself up and think of a new strategy of finding Mizuki and possible leads connected with his family's murder. He had a long road ahead and Naruto didn't even know what he was truly getting into. The next morning, Titan's Tower. It was a normal morning in the Titans' home. Beast Boy and Cyborg were sitting side by side playing video games. Starfire was floating around the kitchen cooking some kind of strange meal, which was moving and making gurgling noises. Raven was sitting a few feet away from Beast Boy, she was in a meditative pose while reading a book. Dude, where did you learn to play games? You are awful. Beast Boy teased while leaning over to his friend with a large smirk. Cyborg glared at his friend for a moment, but as a large blast went off in the game, he laughed victoriously. Don't go celebrating yet, BB, we all know who the video game king is. Raven looked up from her book and rolled her eyes. All hail our king. The teen mumbled unenthusiastically. Now would you two be kind enough to keep it down, I'm trying to read. Come on Raven, don't be such a grouch. Put the book away and come play with us. Beast Boy offered, holding the controller to her. Pass. The teen replied, placing her eyes back to her book. Starfire flew over to her friends, a large smile on her face and a plate of slop in hand. Friends, I have made the breakfast. Beast Boy, Cyborg and Raven looked at the so-called breakfast. They all had to place a hand to their mouth, that way they could resist the urge to vomit. That's okay Star, me and BB already had a big breakfast. Cyborg lied quickly. Yeah, we should have told you. Beast Boy added, right as his stomach growled and he chucked nervously. Starfire looked disappointed. What about you, friend Raven, would you like the breakfast? Yeah, I'm not eating that. Raven replied in a brutal but honest tone. Oh, I see. Starfire mumbled right as she started to eat some of the slop on the plate. Raven, Beast Boy and Cyborg all looked to their teammate with looks of horror. Each one of their mouths were wide open and twitching, all the while Starfire happily ate the disgusting meal she cooked. Dude, how is she eating that? Beast Boy whispered to Cyborg. The half-teen half-machine shrugged his shoulders. Guess she has super strength and a super stomach. He replied quietly. Raven looked at Starfire and shuddered as the girl dug into the slop. Gross. The teen muttered before returning to her book. Suddenly the elevator, which led to the exit of the building, opened wide revealing the team leader Robin. He looked on edge, like something was disturbing him. Beast Boy, flip the TV to channel 6. Robin demanded as he walked into the room. Okay. Beast Boy replied in confusion, turning off his and Cyborg's game and doing as instructed. As the TV came on, the Titans were greeted by a female news reporter sitting at a desk. A headline was rolling across the screen, it read new hero or possible villain. Robin, what is going on? Raven asked, wanting to get down to the point. Robin held a finger up to silence her. Just watch and then we can talk. Greetings citizens of Jump City, if you're just now joining us, allow me to explain the current situation. Last night 7 men working for a local drug trafficking operation were, as the cops phrased it, brutally murdered. 6 of the men had arrows lodged into their bodies, while the 7th had an entry wound that resembled a large blade. Dude, what is going on? Beast Boy gasped in surprise. Robin narrowed his vision onto the TV. Just keep watching. These criminals were thwarted and killed by one individual, and we have the surveillance video of the whole ordeal. Now there is no audio and we must warn our younger viewers, this is very graphic. Though after watching this clip, ask yourself. Does Jump City have a new hero or a possible villain? The clip started to play, showing all 7 men moving crates around the docks. So far no possible vigilante could be identified. Whoever this guy is, he is good. Robin began while pointing to the screen. It looks like no one is there, but he is perfectly blended into the shadows. Whoa, I see him. Beast Boy shouted as he noticed the outline of Naruto's boy hidden on a rooftop in the shadows. The next scene was Naruto running down and opening a crate, followed by a goon walking to him. He's looking for something. Raven noted in a plain voice. That's assuming our mystery person is a he. Though I can see he wears all black, has a bow, some arrows and a sword. This would make me think he has no powers. Why would you think that, friend Raven? Starfire asked, not understanding her friend's reasoning. He could have powers, but still like to use weapons as well. Raven shrugged her shoulders. Fair point, guess I'm over-speculating. Though as Raven stopped speaking, the fighting started to break out. All the drug dealers began to open fire at Naruto, who evaded them with little difficulty. For now, it looked like the all-blacked-out teen was in trouble. Guy's got good reflexes, but now I'm with Raven. The way he is avoiding the gunfire, it's pretty convincing that he has no powers. Cyborg began, thinking of ways he and his team save Robin would handle the situation. Robin nodded and folded his arms. You have good points, but there is a lesson Batman taught me. He always told me to never give away all your abilities at once, always sell yourself out as weaker than you truly are. It causes your opponents to underestimate you. But this guy isn't the Batman. Starfire pointed out. I know Star, but like I said. This guy is good. Robin began, right before the Titans watched in horror as Naruto started to drop bodies. Not a single missed arrow, and every single one was aimed for a killing blow. This guy isn't some random thug or vigilante, he's highly trained. Beast Boy watched as Naruto placed his sword into the last man's stomach. Who is this guy? He just killed 7 people like it was nothing. Cyborg narrowed his eyes. He definitely isn't a hero, it's against the Justice League charter for a hero to commit murder. Starfire raised her eyebrow. The what? Star, we never told you about this, mainly because you didn't have an issue with killing. So it wasn't needed, but when the Justice League was founded, they were founded on rules to keep them in check. These were laws to keep the League from acting as a group of gods that could take over the world. So since the Teen Titans is for younger heroes who cannot join the Justice League yet, we still follow similar rules. Robin explained while watching Naruto disappear without a trace. So saying that, I agree with Cyborg. This guy is no hero, and as long as he is in our city, we will see him brought to justice. Raven, unlike her team, continued to watch the TV. The clip was replayed one more time, and for some reason, she found herself completely absorbed with the young masked assassin. But Naruto strolled into his living room for the rest of his morning routine. He had finished his workout and now it was time for his breakfast. As he sat down onto his couch, he momentarily nursed the gun wound on his shoulder, which he had patched up last night. Being on a crusade for justice against his family meant that Naruto had to treat all his own wounds. So he had to pull the bullet out clean and stitch the wound himself. It was painful, especially since Naruto had no painkillers. Though as a league-trained assassin, Naruto could handle pain very well. Well, might as well see what's on TV. Naruto mused as he clicked the remote and began to eat some cereal. Naruto was surprised to see the clip of himself killing the thugs at the docks. Guess I should have scanned the area for cameras. Naruto spoke offhandedly, thinking to himself nothing could be done now. Placing his cereal bowl down, Naruto locked his hands together and began to think. This will attract a lot of unwanted attention. The blonde sighed, leaning over and messing with his hair. So stupid, Roz would have my head for such a rookie mistake. Over on the TV, the news reporter was closing the story off. And that's all we have on Jump City's newest mystery. The police urge anyone who has information on this individual to please give it out. He may have stopped some drug dealers, but he still committed a serious crime in doing so. This is Jane Summers signing off. Please stay safe, Jump City. Naruto clicked the TV off and began to think. Alright, there is some good in all this. Naruto began with a small smile, holding his hand out. Everyone will believe I am trained in stealth, archery and swordplay. Which is true, but it will leave me with an ace in my sleeve. Naruto's hand started to glow with a green aura. I might not have any control over this power, Roz would even compare it to a hindrance in combat due to my lack of skill. Though I have enough ability to give whoever challenges me a very nice surprise. Naruto's hand returned to its normal state. Though maybe I should take Roz's advice and train more. Being able to properly use this power would be very helpful. Though I don't know how to do that, after all, father never learned how to control his power. Flashback, Naruto age 9. Naruto and Roz were engaged in a fierce spar as both student and mentor fought for blood. As their swords clashes, Roz seemed to be losing. Though this was a facade to lure Naruto into his trap and ultimately the child's defeat. Your stance has improved and you leave little room for error. Roz began without skipping a beat. However, Roz knocked Naruto's sword in the air, then kicked his feet from under him. Causing Naruto to land on his back with a sword at his throat. You have a long road ahead, boy. Roz finished, removing his sword from the blonde's neck. Damn it. Naruto cursed as he slammed his hands into the stone floor. Roz sheathed his sword and sighed. Hold your temper, boy, I didn't live and train for centuries to be beaten by a child. Keep your composure and maybe one day, you will be a great warrior like your father. One that can even beat the likes of me. How? How did my father beat you when he could even save himself? Naruto demanded to know. Roz placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Your father had powers, an amazing ability to control lightning. Though he had no control whatsoever. If he even tried to use his power, he could have accidentally killed everyone around him. So that's why, when your family was killed, Minato decided to shield his daughter with his body. Resulting in her and his own deaths. Dad had powers. Naruto mumbled in disbelief. Yes, he did, but like I said, Minato had no control over his power. Though as his son, you carry his mutated gene. You may not have his exact powers, but I would bet my life you have some form of his elemental manipulation. Naruto couldn't believe his ears, never in a million years would he imagine his father had powers. So if I have inherited abilities from my dad, would that mean Mito would have had some too? Roz nodded. Logically yes, but let's focus on finding if you have these powers. Then accomplishing what your father could not do, which is controlling that power inside you. Flashback end. All those years later and I still have no control over my power. Naruto clenched his fist and stood up. I need to fix that, but the question is how. Naruto walked off and pushed his thoughts away. I'll figure it out eventually, I have to get myself ready for tonight. Mizuki won't evade me forever. Later that night. Naruto was moving swiftly through the docks on the opposite side of town. Yesterday he had hit a blank on the west end of town, so he was hoping the east side docks would hold more progress in his mission. As he ran, Naruto made sure to avoid any chance of being detected by cameras this time. After all, he wasn't normally the type of person to make the same mistake twice. Eventually, Naruto spotted another group of shady individuals. It was the same scene as yesterday, but this time there was only 4 men on the docks moving crates around. Naruto, not wanting to waste any time, ran down to the men. Then before any could react he shot arrows into their kneecaps, disabling all 4 of them. Which one of you is Mizuki Sato? Naruto demanded to know, looking around for anyone to speak up. His head was on a swivel, and his bow was drawn and moving between all 4 men. None of us are named Mizuki, so please just leave us alone. One of the men begged in a pain-filled voice. Naruto placed an arrow in the man's heart who spoke. Then you're no use to me. The blonde replied in a cold tone. Naruto then turned his attention and killed 2 more men. Though as he held his bow to the last man, the thug held his hands up. Wait. I have information on Mizuki. The man cried, earning Naruto's attention. Speak. Naruto growled through his deepened voice. The man's hand started to shake as he placed his right hand into his pocket. This is my cell phone. The man began, holding the device out to Naruto. It has all my contacts, including delivery points we have to ship these drugs to. Mizuki is on this list along with the date and location we were to meet him. Naruto released the hold on his bow, allowing an arrow to pierce the man's chest. Thank you. Naruto replied, plucking the phone from the man's hands. But I can't have any loose ends. The man looked at Naruto with a look of betrayal, but soon his body went limp and slumped over dead. Naruto inwardly smirked and held the phone into the air. Finally he had a solid lead to find Mizuki. I'm so close, Mito, father. I will avenge you both. Naruto mumbled in a low voice, but before he could move, an object flew into the cell phone in Naruto's hand, shattering through the middle of the phone. Growling, Naruto noticed the large R symbol on the object. Then with great rage he ripped the object out of the phone and placed the phone in his pocket. So what do I owe the pleasure? Naruto began in his disguised voice, casting Robin's projectile to the side. Then by looking over and up, he found all 5 Teen Titans glaring down at him. We've come to stop you. Robin declared as he prepared to attack. Cyborg morphed his hand into a cannon and pointed it at Naruto. Your little killing spree stops here. The robotic teen added in. Oh trust me, I'll stop killing. Naruto began grabbing his bow and an arrow. That is after I find and kill the person I'm hunting for. Dude, the only thing you are finding is a prison cell. Beast Boy replied, causing Naruto to laugh. That's cute, not as cute as the gorgeous girl in the hood, but I admire your confidence. Naruto shot back, causing Raven to slightly scowl at him. She didn't like being complimented by a criminal. There is 5 of us against only yourself, please surrender or we will hurt you. Starfire warned, her hands and eyes slowly glowing green. Naruto drew an arrow back and pointed it towards the Titans. Sounds like the odds really aren't in your favor then. Raven lifted her hands up, black aura slowly surrounding them both. Give yourself in or don't, I really could care less. Though what my team says is true, you won't defeat us and we will stop you tonight. Naruto sighed and released his grip on his bow. Let's test that theory, beautiful. The blonde replied in a calm manner as an arrow went sailing into the air. Titans go. Robin yelled, signaling his team to attack. All 5 Titans rushed towards Naruto in their own way. Beast Boy shifted into a rhino and started to charge at the blonde, while Raven and Starfire flew overhead. Robin shot a grappling line into a building and started to swing in the blonde's direction, while Cyborg pointed his cannon arm forward and started to sprint. Naruto, not wanting to get overwhelmed by 5 superhero teenagers, decided to shift the odds in his favor by tossing dozens of smoke bombs around himself and the Titans. The area was instantly filled with smoke, causing all 5 heroes to freeze in place. The 3 boys on the ground were completely blinded by the smoke, while the only thing Raven and Starfire could see was a large cloud of smoke. Robin squinted his eyes and tried to see his surroundings. He couldn't see much of anything, as it was dark outside and the smoke only made the situation worse. However, as Robin felt a hard punch to his kidneys, he flinched and tried to hit his assailant with a spin kick. Though Robin merely hit air and caused the smoke to move a little. Robin was then hit with a hard punch to the stomach, followed by someone grabbing his head and slamming it into their kneecap, causing the boy wonder to stagger backward and almost lose his footing. Where is he? Robin shouted, grabbing his collapsible staff and striking a defensive pose. Cyborg's robotic eyes started to glow red. I'm not picking him up on my thermal vision. The teen shouted in surprise. Wait, I see something on the. Cyborg cried in pain, while 3 arrows buried into his body. 2 in his robotic leg, rendering it useless. While the 3rd lodged into his arm. Cyborg. Robin cried in worry, trying to locate his friend. Beast Boy, clear this smoke now. Beast Boy quickly shifted into a pterodactyl and started to flap his large green wings. Doing so to clear the smoke in a rapid and effective way. Though as the smoke cleared, the Titans were able to see their downed comrade, allowing them to see where the arrows impacted his body. Cyborg. Starfire shouted in fear, flying down to her friend and inspecting the arrows in his body. Each arrow was actually lodged in a part of his body that was still human. You are hurt and need help. I'm fine, Star, that guy is making an escape. Cyborg groaned in anguish, pointing to the rooftop across from them. Robin growled and looked up to Naruto, who was looking over his shoulder and down at the Titans, while his back was turned to them. Starfire, you stay here with Cyborg. Raven, Beast Boy, you 2 are with me. Robin ordered while chasing after the blonde assassin. Beast Boy nodded and morphed into a flakin, then at blazing speeds he flew after Naruto. Raven gave her 2 friends one look before taking off into the sky as well. Naruto looked back and saw the remaining Titans fast approaching on his heel. Then to make matters worse, Naruto was running out of rooftops to run across. So to avoid any more unnecessary conflict, Naruto grabbed his bow and drew back an arrow, which he fiddled with for a quick moment. Turning around, the blonde displayed his impressive archery skills and shot the arrow into the sky towards Raven and Beast Boy. The arrow appeared as it missed its mark, as it flew between Raven and Beast Boy. Though the arrow wasn't meant to make contact, its true purpose was to carry the flash bomb into the sky and between the teens. "Beast Boy, look out." Raven shouted as she shielded herself, but it was too late. The bomb went off and blinded the green-skinned hero, causing his transform to drop and his body to fall and crash into Robin. The two boys rolled across the rooftop and lost distance on Naruto. Raven hovered over her downed team, but as she watched Naruto slowly disappear, she decided to continue her chase. "That's 4 down, which leaves me with the only predicament in this situation." Naruto mumbled, looking in the distance to the edge of the rooftop. "Let's see how good she is." Raven watched with shock as Naruto took a dive off the building, which led to the busy streets down below. However, she caught a glimpse of an arrow with a line attached strike a building. Said line allowed Naruto to swing across the street and onto another building. "He's insane." Raven mumbled in surprise, slowly following after Naruto. Naruto looked over his shoulder and found Raven closing in, so he decided to stop and make his stand. "Mom always said the girls would chase me down, but this is getting a little old." Naruto spoke up as he grabbed an arrow and pointed it at Raven. "So why don't you let me take off, beautiful?" Raven floated down to the rooftop and narrowed her eyes. "Don't call me that," she ordered, her hand surrounded by black aura. "I don't know what you're talking about." Naruto replied in a calm voice, his hands releasing his bowstring, causing an arrow to fly towards the dark-haired hero. Raven didn't budge an inch, instead she used her powers to suspend the arrow in the air. "Whatever, I don't care what you call me. Either way, I'm stopping you tonight." Naruto placed his bow away and crossed his arms. "I've done nothing." The blonde protested. "You've killed people." The hero pointed out as she allowed the arrow to fall harmlessly on the ground. "Collateral damage." Naruto replied offhandedly. "Besides, it's not like they were model citizens. They were scum that I cleansed in the name of my mission. You have your way of seeing things and I have mine, but after what you did to my friends." Raven floated into the air and her eyes started to glow. "I'm not letting you escape." "Actually you will." Naruto replied smoothly, holding a small vial up for Raven to see. "The arrows I used on your friend were laced with a very deadly poison. One that if not properly treated within the next 5 minutes will kill him." "You're lying." Raven replied, not buying into what the blonde assassin was saying. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. "I could very well be lying, but ask yourself this. Why would I lie?" "You're criminally insane." Raven answered without skipping a beat. "It's what your type of people do. I've fought enough villains to know that your kind is prone to lying and cheating." Naruto started to laugh, causing the device he used to conceal his voice to make his laughter sound deep and darker than usual. As his laughter rose, Naruto held his hands out wide. "That's the thing, beautiful, I'm not one of those little villains you fight against. I'm an assassin, I may lie, cheat and steal. Though when I talk about taking someone's life, I'm very serious." Naruto then tossed the vial high into the air. "So decided, your friend's life versus my capture." Raven snatched the vial from the air with her powers, then slowly floated it towards herself. "Even if you are telling the truth, Cyborg is half machine. Regular poisons wouldn't have the same effect on his robotic-enhanced body." "That could be true, but half robot or not. Your little friend still has his human organs, and this particular poison is one that eats away at the victim's heart. So I would make a guess that he still needs that heart to live." Naruto explained in a cold tone. "You have 2 minutes, by the way." Raven clutched the vial in her hand. "I will capture you." Naruto smirked and started to walk away. "And I will take you on a date, beautiful." Raven scowled as she gripped tightly onto the vial in hand. She didn't like the mysterious assassin at all, in fact she could feel his emotions and what she felt didn't please her. Anger, hatred and other negative emotions flooded the blonde's mind, but there was something else buried deep down. An emotion Naruto tried to mask, but Raven could feel it. "I can sense your emotions, you have no intentions of killing me or my friends." Raven began as she floated onto the ground. "So why are you killing people?" Naruto stopped for a moment but did not turn around. "You're not my target, simple as that." The blonde answered before walking off. "I can also sense that you are broken, I can sense it deep down." Raven added in, making Naruto stop once more. "You have so much anger and hatred inside you, but deep down there is this overwhelming sadness. Is that why you kill, to fill that void?" "I kill for the injustice done to a small boy and his family. I kill because a prison does not stop monsters, only death can place an end to a villainous reign." Naruto turned around and clutched his fists. "I kill because it's all I know, I'm an assassin and a lost soul. However, that is something I'm perfectly capable of living with. What is your name? Raven asked, her voice slightly depressed by what the blonde had said. I won't tell you my name, but I'll give the name my master knows me by, Theolab. Naruto answered in a slightly shaken voice, still emotional by his earlier response. Well Theolab, I don't think you're lost, only misguided. Raven began, surprising Naruto with her sudden sympathy. Hopefully one day, you'll find someone to save you. And hopefully they do before it's too late. It's already too late for me. Naruto replied in a cold voice. Tell your team if they interfere with my mission again, I won't be merciful. I will go for the kill. Raven nodded and turned away, her body changing to an astral projection of a raven. One that took off into the sky to go give aid to Cyborg. Naruto watched Raven fly off and jerked around. Once again the blonde assassin's night didn't go as planned. Though as Naruto made his way back home, one thought lingered in his mind. Was he really that far gone in his own darkness? Later at the Titan's tower. Robin stomped into the living room of the tower with an angry scowl on his face. As he entered the room, Cyborg, who was leaning onto Starfire and Beast Boy for support, followed shortly. To Naruto's word, he did in fact poison the teen, so he was still recovering. After Cyborg was helped onto the large black couch, Raven entered the room with a slightly down expression. For some reason, the half-demon teenager kept thinking of the mystery assassin she knew as Theolab. He was a killer and placed the life of her friend in danger, but for some reason she couldn't stop thinking about him. She blamed these thoughts for her inability to stop and capture Naruto, but she knew that she was lying to herself. Really, Raven had no idea why she couldn't get Naruto out of her head. Though Raven was quickly taken out of her thoughts and jerked back to reality. As the voice of her displeased leader spoke towards her. I can't believe you had him and you allowed him to just walk away. Robin shouted in rage, while he paced the floor in front of Raven. What were you thinking? Raven glared at the boy wonder with an icy glare. I was thinking that I would save my friend's life, which I managed to accomplish. So he got away. This isn't the first time we lost the bad guy, and I'm certain it won't be the last. But mark my words, Robin, I will stop him from killing. Robin didn't seem pleased with Raven's response, instead he got into her face and growled. That's the best you have to say. We are heroes and the safety of this city comes before our own. Robin yelled out, earning the eyes of his other teammates. Just think, Raven, you let a killer walk free. How much longer till he kills again? Sure, he's only killed drug dealers and criminals, but what happens when he kills a young mother or a small child? Those lives would be on you. Back off, Robin. Raven warned, her own anger slightly rising. Friends, please stop the fighting. Starfire begged as she flew in between the two teens. Raven is right, if she didn't come to Cyborg's aid, our friend wouldn't be with us right now. So please let's focus on how we can stop this man, not fight each other. Yes, Star is right, Robin. Beast Boy agreed as he stood beside his best friend Cyborg. We are a team, so we have to look out for one another. Just because he got away tonight don't mean we won't catch him. In fact, now we know most of his tricks, so next time we can be ready. That's not it, none of you are understanding the situation. Robin shouted in frustration as he slowly walked over to the computer. This guy is in our city, killing the people we are supposed to protect, and he beat us without any powers or help. Cyborg grunted and stood up, causing Starfire to gasp. Friend Cyborg, you still need to recover. The alien princess pointed out with worry in her voice. I'm fine, Star, but listen, Robin. This guy kicked our asses, that's a given, we can't sugarcoat it. What we can do is get ready for next time. Cyborg then looked over to Raven. Raven, you were up against him by yourself, did you get any important information? Raven walked over to a stool and took a seat, turning away from her team. Raven locked her fingers and leaned over a table. I learned a few things from my encounter. She slowly admitted, memories of her prior encounter flooding back to her. Starting off, we now know he is on a mission to find and kill someone in Jump City. My assumption is this person is some criminal, that's why he is hunting down and interrogating various criminals. So technically he is a good guy if he leaves the innocent people alone. Beast Boy pointed out. No. Robin cut in sharply. He's a criminal and a murderer. What else did you find out, Raven? Raven sighed. He mentioned a few important things, one being that he is an assassin. Another was that he had a master. I'm unclear if his mission was given to him by this master. Though we now know he has a mentor. Could he be working under Slade? Cyborg asked, causing everyone to look down. I mean, it's been a few months since the incident, he could have taken a new apprentice. Beast Boy zoned out, his mind drifting to the precious person which he has lost. Robin, looking over to his friend, noticed this and decided to try and help his friend. No, this guy doesn't work for Slade. There is a few things that set the two apart. Slade is a mercenary, while this unknown guy is an assassin. Another thing is their fighting styles. You all remember when I had to work for Slade. During that time I learned his fighting style, and again it's nothing like this assassin. Robin walked over and started typing on their computer. His uniform fighting style, I know I've seen it all somewhere before. Starfire flew over to Robin. Have you fought this assassin before? I don't know, but I can't shake the feeling that I have. Robin answered as he continued to type. Raven, what else did you find out? He gave me a name to call him, he said it wasn't his real name. Though this was the name his master gave him. Raven began as her team looked to her. He said to call him Thelab. Thela Raven, what did you just say? Cyborg asked as he struggled with pronouncing the name. Thelab. She answered again. I have no clue what it means. I found it. Robin spoke up, looking down to his computer. Thelab, the name is Arabic for fox. So we have an assassin who is in Jump Cutie to kill some person, and his name is literally Fox. Man, why can't we just have a normal week? Beast Boy whined as he fell onto their couch. We are heroes, Beast Boy, this is normal for us. Robin pointed out, looking over to Raven. Do you have any more important information? Yeah, he said if we interfere with his mission again, he will kill us. Raven answered, causing all the Titans besides Robin to sweat a little. I see. Robin began as he started to type again. You should all get some rest, I'm gonna keep looking into this guy. Then tomorrow we are going to start training to take him on. Beast Boy gave a salute. Understood, Captain. The boy joked before walking out of the room. Starfire flew beside Robin and placed a hand on his shoulder. Don't stay up too late, you need your rest as well. Robin nodded and Starfire went off to her own room. Cyborg started to stretch and walk to his own room. I'm gonna go run some system diagnosis, make sure that freak didn't do too much damage. Cyborg explained as he left the room, leaving Raven and Robin alone. Raven sighed and started to stand, but the voice of Robin stopped her. Wait, Raven, I wanted to apologize. I know you did what you believed was best. I just hate the feeling of losing to a criminal. It really eats away at me. Robin explained in a low voice. It's fine, Robin. Raven replied, her thoughts going back to Naruto again. I just can't help to wonder why he is here, what he wants and what he is doing. With Naruto. Naruto wasn't upset, no, his anger was far beyond that. He was absolutely pissed and he was taking his anger out on a training dummy in his secret base of operations. Stupid Teen Titans. Naruto shouted as he began to beat the training dummy relentlessly. He wasn't in his League of Assassins uniform anymore, instead he was shirtless with a pair of black sweats. I was so close to finding Mizuki. Naruto growled as he started to strike the dummy harder. Naruto brought his right hand back and then while releasing a loud yell. The blonde assassin punched through the dummy and broke it into pieces. What in the hell am I gonna do now? Naruto grumbled, kicking the broken dummy to the side. Sighing in frustration, Naruto walked over to a large bulletin board. Tapping his fingers on a news clipping he started to talk to himself. The GCPD ball. Naruto began, touching the news report of the terrorist attack. His hands trailing across a red line which was attached to 8 different pictures, these were the gunmen who attacked the GCPD ball. Each man had a red X across their picture, but James King. The man which Naruto killed, he had another red line that led to the name Mizuki Sato. This is where Naruto's hunt for justice ends. This is all I have. Naruto growled in rage, pulling a phone out of his pocket. This phone had important information I needed. Though that boy Blunder managed to completely ruin it. Naruto slammed the broken phone onto a metal table. Then as he started to pace the room, Naruto began to mess with his long blonde locks. Think to yourself, Naruto, there has to be a way to fix this issue. The blonde began as his mind started to race. The good in all this is that Mizuki is unaware I am hunting him. The bad part is I don't know where he is or what he looks like. Then I can't forget the Teen Titans, they have already proved to be a thorn in my side once. Naruto stopped and placed his hands onto the table. He placed the phone. Think what to do next. The blonde shouted as he closed his eyes and started to think. Naruto growled and punched the table, creating a small dent. Though after a moment he stopped and started to take deep breaths. Calm yourself, Roz always said to keep your composure. After all, you don't want to be forced to repair everything you break, that's it. Naruto grabbed the phone and started to look it over. If I can find someone to repair this phone, I can get the information I need. The blonde smirked happily as he looked up. Father, Mito, I promise I will find who is responsible for your deaths. Happy with his new plan, even though it was a minor setback. Naruto walked towards the elevator of his HQ, his thoughts now moving towards the Teen Titans. That's one problem down, but I still have 5 more to solve. The next morning. Naruto ended up sleeping longer than usual, instead of his normal 5 in the morning workout routine. The blonde ended up sleeping until 7 and starting his workout then. Today he trained with more vigor than usual, his determination to find Mizuki allowed him to push himself even harder. Though Naruto was also fueled by his desire to grow stronger than the Teen Titans. During their last encounter, he used the element of surprise and their desire to protect each other to his advantage. Though he figured they wouldn't fall into the same trick twice, so Naruto would have to be able to beat them 5-on-1. The blonde debated on starting to train his powers, but in all honesty Naruto didn't know how to start his training. So for now, he focused on sharpening his skills. Soon Naruto found himself inside the elevator that led up to his store. He had a towel wrapped around his neck and he was sweating all over. That was a good training session, but I really need a shower. The blonde noted as he stretched out his slightly sore muscles. The elevator made a ding and he walked into his makeshift office. Though as he made his way over to the stairs, he could hear the faint knocking at the door to his store. Not even properly thinking, the blonde assassin made his way over to the door. As he unlocked the door, the blonde was met face to face with someone he never dreamed he would see. Shaking his head and recompassing himself, Naruto looked slightly down at Raven, who was standing across from him, a large blush across her face as she looked him over. "Can I help you?" Naruto asked in a confused voice, hoping the Titans didn't figure out who he was. Raven's mind was in overdrive, never had she seen a male that she found so attractive. She was completely absorbed by his deep blue eyes and his long golden locks. It also helped that Naruto was shirtless, sweaty and absolutely shredded. Books. The purple-haired hero mumbled as she couldn't mutter a proper sentence in the presence of Naruto. Naruto acted confused for a moment, but then it dawned upon him. He ran a bookstore, one that he has completely neglected the past few days. "You wanted to come check out my store?" Naruto finally spoke up, causing Raven to slowly nod. "Well, in that case please come in." Naruto cursed his luck as he allowed Raven to come inside. Out of all the people in Jump City, why did she have to visit his store? Truly some force in the world was against him. Though as Raven walked into the blonde store, she was slightly impressed. Besides the store being completely empty of customers, it was filled to the brim with books. "So help yourself." Naruto chuckled nervously as he held his hands out. Raven stared at Naruto for a second, her eyes glued onto his body. This caused the blonde to feel a little uneasy. Are you okay?" Naruto asked as he folded his arms. Raven shook herself out of her daze and recomposed herself. "Sorry, I got distracted," the hero admitted as she casually walked over to a bookstand. Then as she opened up a random book, she glanced at Naruto and watched him walk behind the counter. Naruto balled his fists and looked down, he was going over the last few days in his head. Wondering if there was any chance he slipped up and allowed the Titans to figure out who he was. Damn it, Naruto, think. There is no way she knows who you are. If so, she wouldn't come here alone, would she? No, you're too good to slip up and get caught this quick. Naruto thought to himself as he looked over to Raven. But if that's the case, why does she keep looking at me? Raven noticed Naruto looking back at her, so she quickly buried her head into the book she had picked up. Okay, she is definitely watching me, but why? Naruto thought as he looked down and caught his own reflection. Finally noticing what was catching the young woman's eye. I forgot I'm not wearing a shirt. Smiling to himself, Naruto decided to have a small bit of mischief. So with a spring in his step, the blonde assassin strolled over to Raven. Excuse me, you look as if you need some assistance. Naruto spoke, leaning against the bookshelf Raven was standing by. Raven moved her eyes over the blonde and bit her lip. Normally she was cool and calm, but this unnamed bookstore owner was getting the best of her. I am fine. Raven stammered out with a large blush, forcing her to conceal her face with a book in hand. I like your store. Is that all you like? Naruto asked with a small smirk, causing Raven's face to go further into the book. There was a moment of silence between the two, though after a moment Raven looked up. For now. The teen answered in a blank voice. Busy place you have here, sorry I didn't get your name. Raven stopped and waited for Naruto to give his name. It's only polite to give your name before asking others, but I don't think there is a person in Jump City who doesn't know you, Raven. Naruto replied in a calm and docile tone. Though my name is Naruto Quinn. Raven nodded and continued to read, trying her hardest to avoid looking at the attractive blonde. Naruto easily picked up on this and started to inwardly laugh. So tell me, what brings one of the famous Teen Titans to my store? As you can see I'm normally booming with business, so I would assume you've certainly heard of my store from somewhere. Naruto began, being very sarcastic about the last part. Raven sighed and closed the book in her hands. If we are going to do this, could you at least put a shirt on? Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'll be right back. Though as Naruto walked away, he turned around and gave Raven a wink. Don't go stealing anything while I'm gone, beautiful. Raven turned a deep shade of red from the blonde's comment. She didn't know why, but the way he spoke to her felt familiar. Though even stranger was that she enjoyed the way he spoke to her. It was almost refreshing to have someone leaving her speechless. It was almost like he didn't care she was Raven from the Teen Titans, he treated her like another girl that wandered into his store. Raven was so taken up in the way Naruto looked and the way he treated her. She was completely blinded by the giveaway signs of who he truly was. So. The voice of Naruto began, grabbing Raven's attention. As he was clearly walking into the main part of the store, a new skin-tight black shirt hugging his torso. What brings you to my store? Raven looked at the blonde with a confused gaze. I like books and this is a bookstore. She answered back, her voice holding a little more confidence. It's pretty self-explanatory as to why I'm here. Naruto nodded and took a seat on a small wooden stool. Fair point, it's just I've only been in business for a few days and you're my first customer. The blonde explained as he beeped a smirk. It's weird having your first customer being a famous hero. I see, so are you from around here? You're pretty young to running a bookstore. Raven noted as she walked over and took a seat. Naruto waved his hand around. I grew up in a small orphanage of sorts. It housed people from all over, so when I finally left I wanted to go out and see the world. The blonde explained, twisting his words around to tell both the truth and a lie. As to the being young part, you're correct. Though I had some money saved up, so I thought why not buy a bookstore. Raven didn't act very impressed and if she didn't show it. Sounds interesting, though if you wanted to see the world. Why come down and buy a bookstore in Jump City? Naruto leaned over with a grin. Well, besides the booming business opportunity, I hear there is a lot of beautiful girls in Jump City. Raven blushed and looked onto the floor. I see. She mumbled in a low voice. Naruto laughed and moved back away from Raven. So Raven, I have a question. Naruto began grabbing her full attention. And that is? Raven replied, not wanting to be left in suspense. Naruto started to chuckle nervously and rubbed the back of his head. Well, when I was moving into my new apartment, I dropped my phone and completely broke it. So I was wondering if you knew where any repair shops were. I had a lot of important information I don't want to lose. Yeah, there is one 4 blocks down from your store. Raven answered, slightly bummed about what his question was about. Naruto smiled and nodded. Thank you very much, Raven. The blonde thanked, happy that he could now fix the phone her teammate destroyed. No problem, but I answered a question for you. So why don't you do me the courtesy as well? Raven replied, her voice calm and collected. Ask away. Naruto spoke happily. Why were you shirtless earlier? She asked, a slight blush appearing on her face. Naruto made an O shape with his mouth and started to snicker. Sorry about that, I live above the store and every morning I work out to stay in shape. Normally I don't have customers, so when I opened the door I didn't even think what I was doing. I see, so maybe next time I stop by you'll have a shirt on. Raven replied with a smirk, trying to get one over the blonde. Naruto leaned over and gave Raven a wink. No promises, after all you looked at my body more than you did my books. The blonde assassin retorted in a low voice. Raven felt her heartbeat pick up as Naruto slowly got closer. Though the sudden beeping of her communicator going off made her stand up and pull the device out. Raven, trouble in the downtown district, meet us there now. The voice of Robin shouted through the comm. Raven looked slightly depressed as she looked over to Naruto. Sorry, duty calls, I'll stop by again another day, I like talking to you. Raven admitted with a small smile, turning around and walking towards the exit. Naruto smiled wide and for a second forgetting everything about who he and Raven were. In the moment right now, they were just 2 young teens. Alright, I'll see you around, beautiful. As the door to his store closed, Naruto's face took a complete shift. He went from a flirty teenager to a serious assassin in one go. Time for a shower, then I'm going to get that stupid phone fixed. Naruto mumbled as he walked over and locked the door to his store. Few hours later. Naruto was casually strolling down the busy streets of Jump City. He was dressed in a plain pair of jeans and a large black hoodie, which he had pulled over to somewhat conceal his face. His hands were tucked into the pockets of his hoodie and he was fiddling with a broken phone in his hands. As he passed by the dozens of citizens going about their daily lives. He was unaware of the 2 people shadowing his movements. Soon one individual picked up his speed and closed in behind Naruto. Being an assassin, Naruto felt as if he was being followed. Though taking a glance on the reflection of a window he passed. He judged his followers to be of no threat. Quickly he found a sharp object held to his back and he smirked. Take a small detour into that alley to your right. A voice ordered in a low tone, slowly poking his knife into Naruto's back. Naruto had to hold back his laughter. Alright, just don't hurt me. He whispered, trying his hardest to pretend helpless. The man led Naruto into the alley and as the 2 were out of sight. The man pushed Naruto forward, causing the blonde to stagger forward and almost fall over. Though this was just a front, Naruto played to appear weak. Alright kid, wallet, jewelry and anything else valuable. Hand it over, or this will get ugly. The mugger ordered, as the second man walked over to his side. Seeing the 2 men trying to rob him, Naruto couldn't hold his laughter back any longer. Wow, you 2 might be the stupidest, most unlucky guys in all Jump City. Naruto declared as he started to sway back and forth in his laughter. I mean there is what, hundreds of people that pass by you. And you decide to rob me. Naruto folded his hands together and pointed to the two muggers. Alright listen, here is your one chance. Walk away now and we can put this all behind us. The two men looked between each other, then as they nodded. Both charged at Naruto with knives in hand. Naruto shook his head. Can't say I didn't warn you. The blonde mumbled as he rolled around one of the muggers. Then in one swift move he broke the man's arm and shoved the knife into his throat. The second man looked to his partner with wide eyes. Then before he could even mumble a proper sentence, a blonde blur grabbed the man's arm and made him shove his knife into his own neck. So easy it was boring. Naruto mumbled as he walked over the two dead men. At least I killed them without getting my fingerprints on their weapons. Naruto stepped out of the alleyway and walked into the streets. As he did, he perfectly blended into the passing-by citizens. Going back to his task and acting like nothing even happened. Eventually Naruto made his way towards the repair shop that Raven told him about. He looked up to the name of the shop and smirked. Repairs for Idiots, cute name. Naruto mumbled as he approached the door. Opening the door, a ding went off signaling a customer had entered the store. Naruto looked around and noticed dozens of electronic devices spread throughout the store. He also took note that the store wasn't very busy, in fact there was only one other person inside the room. A male teenager around Naruto's age, he was dressed in the store uniform and he looked rather unhappy with his job. His long black hair was tied up into a ponytail, which resembled the top of a pineapple. Welcome to Repairs for Idiots, we fix things because you're a moron. The male greeted with little enthusiasm. I'm Shikamaru, how can I help you? Naruto strolled over to the counter with a small smile. Nice slogan. The blonde began as he placed a broken phone onto the counter. Name's Naruto Quinn and I need you to fix something for me. Oh that's surprising, see I thought you'd come into electronic repair shop for a cup of coffee. Shikamaru replied sarcastically while picking the cell phone up. Boy is that a load off my shoulder. Funny. Naruto mumbled as he folded his arms. A friend told me you could fix that phone for me, I have a lot of important data I don't want to lose. Shikamaru held the phone up and started to look over it. He quickly ran his fingers around the entry point where Robin's projectiles had did the most damage. What, did the phone owe you money or something? The lazy teen asked, glancing down to Naruto. Because it looks like you stabbed the thing. Naruto rubbed his head and chuckled nervously. You see I got drunk and woke up with a knife dug into my phone. The blonde lied, hoping the black-haired repairman would buy the lie. Little young to be drinking, guess that's what your dumbus gets. Shikamaru replied with a small yawn. Not very friendly service. Naruto pointed out with a small smirk, even though he really didn't care. He just wanted the phone fixed. Yeah, well I couldn't care less about this stupid job. Shikamaru replied as he sat the phone down. But let's get down to business, I can't fix the phone. You managed to completely ruin a majority of the phone. Though you're in luck, as the memory card inside is unharmed. So give me a few days and I'll swap the card into a replacement phone. That way you can at least recover your data. Naruto nodded and pulled his wallet out. How much do I owe you and when will you be done? Shikamaru sighed and started to stretch. Well it's a lot of extra work for me, so labor and everything it'd say about. Would this cover it? Naruto asked as he placed $500 on the table without flinching. Shikamaru was surprised. More than enough. Naruto smiled. Good then keep the change, it will motivate you to work harder. I need the information off my phone as quickly as possible. Shikamaru took the cash and nodded. Come back this time tomorrow, I should have everything ready for you. Good. Naruto replied as he turned around and started to leave. Shikamaru watched the blonde exit the store, but before Naruto left. The lazy teen noticed blood on the back of Naruto's hoodie. He didn't look hurt and he paid with $500 like it was 5 cents. There is something off about this guy. Shikamaru mumbled as he looked to the phone on the counter. And I bet this phone will help me figure that out. At Naruto's apartment. Naruto walked slowly into his living room and grabbed the remote to his TV. Then as he plopped down on the couch, he flicked the device on. Let's see if there is anything good on. Naruto mumbled as he changed the TV to the local news network. Holding back a small smile, Naruto read the headlines flashing across the TV. Which read, 2 men found dead in back alley. Wonder if they have anything pinning me to their deaths. Naruto spoke to himself as he turned the volume up. So far there is no suspects or clues to the murders of these 2 men. Naruto smiled as he heard the news anchor talk. However, many are speculating it was caused by Jump City's newest killer, who has been killing criminals on the docks. Naruto leaned back and placed his hands over his head. They wouldn't be wrong. The police chief said the men killed tonight were convicted criminals. So it would fit the Black Hood's MO to kill these men. As he has only killed criminals so far. The Black Hood. That is the stupidest most cliché thing I've ever heard. Naruto growled in frustration. The police urge anyone with information linked with these killings to please come forward. And if you see or know anything of the Black Hood, the police ask you send all information to them. As they feel he is a major threat to the city. Naruto snorted. Stupid police, they are ignorant to the fact that I'm making the city safer. Killing evil men is better than locking them away. After all, how many times has Uncle Bruce had to lock up his enemies only for them to break out and cause more harm? Naruto turned the TV off and stood up. Regardless, I have to be more careful from now on. I'm no longer a nameless assassin killing for his mission. I now have the police and Teen Titans after me, while also being in the eye of the public. Naruto walked over to his window and peered outside. Sighing to himself, he looked up to the bright full moon. Then as he let his eyes wander for a moment, he looked over to the Titan's tower. His mind going to Raven and their conversation, which he did enjoy, and part of him wanted to keep spending time with the girl. Though he knew, the more they were around each other, the bigger the risk of Raven discovering who he really is. However, Naruto was taken from his thoughts about Raven as he noticed a figure on a rooftop across him. Said person was dressed in all black, so he was hard to spot, but Naruto was a highly trained assassin. So spotting someone in the darkness would be easy for him, especially if the person wasn't hidden very well. Which the person watching him wasn't, so it made Naruto wonder just who was watching him and why. He's not very good at concealing himself. Naruto mused as he smiled and waved at the person watching him. Said person stiffened up before turning around and running away. Needless to say, Naruto only had one thought running through his head mind. Someone is watching me, so that must mean they suspect who I really am. Naruto spoke to himself as he walked away from the window. Just when I thought things couldn't get any better. I get another problem to add to my growing list. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.